Are you ready to take your ministry in a new direction? Are you ready to explore new innovative ways to carry the gospel of Jesus Christ to the world? Have you ever thought about having a television ministry? Were you reluctant because of pricing? Did it seem too costly for your ministry? If I told you that television is affordable, and that there is a solution within your budget, would you be interested? There is an affordable solution for your ministry. It's Clarity IBN. Clarity is an affordable option for you to be on television. You can reach the world for Jesus without breaking your budget. Go now. Go to clarityibn.org. Fill out the contact form, and a representative from Clarity IBN will email you on how you can be on television affordably. Don't wait, don't procrastinate. Do it now. Go to clarityibn.org and get started.
A moment of truth opened up my eyes. A moment of truth. A moment of truth, like the sunrise. A moment of truth. It's a new day. The world has made me new. My life is better. I finally found my way. A moment of truth made me realize. A moment of truth.
Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Moment of Truth. This is Live at 5 with your host, Dr. Harold G. Dakis Jr. So glad to have you all with us on tonight. Just check one more platform. It looks like we are up on all platforms. Thank you all for joining. So glad that you are with us today. Yes, glad to be back here with you all on this evening for our Live at 5. All right. And tonight we're going into our new chapter, the 19th chapter of Proverbs. And tonight we're going to do the introduction to chapter 19. And um, chapter 19, we're going to we can title this one because it's talking about prevention. There's a saying that we've heard throughout our lives, and it's called an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's basically what chapter 19 of Proverbs is saying, that we should be taking preventative measures for certain things that we can anticipate or be prepared for things that may and in some cases will take place. Can we be better at making decisions for our life? What conversations should we have with our children? I think about that a lot now that I'm older and my children are all, considered grown now. What conversations could I have had with my children, and why didn't I have those conversations? Well, part of this is because those conversations weren't had with me and my siblings. There's certain things that they did not speak to us about. There were some things that my mother was very concerned about because they were things that she wished that her mother had talked to her about. So at an early age, she spoke to us about those things. but she was limited by her experience. My mother got pregnant with her first child at 13. She had her first child at 14. By the time she was 19, she had four children. Uh, she left here with six, but the issue is she didn't know a lot of things and wasn't prepared. So her limitation for preparing us was based on what she, uh, well, a culmination or combination of what she had learned plus what she had experienced. Now that didn't leave too much. What's the word I'm looking for? That didn't leave too much space, you know, for a lot of things because she was limited by her experience. And I oftentimes think about these things, and I don't lay any blame to her because she did the best she could with what she had. Yeah, and I sometimes think, and I says, Lord, oh, forgive me for not. Number one, I've had some things myself, not always being there, not being there, and then not giving that instruction to them before they got to adult age. And there were conversations that weren't had with me, and I only shared what I knew and what I was told. But what about those things or conversations that we should be having? And guess what? It's not too late now because I have them with my grandson, and you got to talk to them now a little differently. And yes, but it seems like that has been kind of the way it worked. The grandparents did more instructing because they had a little more experience and realized. And I'm only understanding all of this now. They realized that they didn't have those conversations with our parents, so they had those conversations with us, and then we're trying to have those conversations now. Same thing with our grandchildren, and because we missed having them with our parents. Yeah, but Proverbs here, Solomon is um, in this proverb, he is bringing home the point of the importance of prevention. There are some things you can avoid in your life by simply taking preventative measures. Now, we have these backpacks that they gave out a few years ago. So my wife got them, and she got one for everybody in the household, and they are survival packs. Uh, we were having a lot of earthquakes and things were happening, and they were giving away all these survival backpacks with water and non-perishable food, blankets, this stuff that you may need in case of an emergency. It's as if they were kind of telling us something was coming, and in their way trying to prepare us for something that was impending. Hmm. Well, this proverb, modern proverb that we've been told, for years, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It has some value to it, and it does carry some weight because if you would simply make preparation, uh, some of us get to retirement age and are forced to continue to work because we didn't prepare for retirement early enough. Uh, I remember uh, being a tax preparer for over 25 years, and one thing I always found it difficult to get across to my tax clients was that you don't prepare for your taxes for the year uh, of which you're filing your return in the year you file the return. And what do I mean? This is 2022. Anything you want to claim on your taxes needs to transpire prior to December 31st, midnight. Because you can't make a donation January 1st and then claim it on your 2022 taxes. So, and you can't make a business expenditure in January and then put it on your tax return for the previous year. Because when you file your return that year, you're filing it for what you earned the previous year. So you don't wait till January or the year that you're filing the tax to prepare for your deductions. Oh, okay. Got a notice there. So you have to make those what's the word I'm looking for? You have to make those expenditures in the year of the tax year that you're going to claim it. Even though you file it in the following year, you have to make the expenditure in the year of the taxes that you're going to file for. So I'm filing for 22 in 23. And that's the same thing about life. You have to prepare for what's coming. You can't wait until it's upon you. I used to say that the formula for success is when preparation meets opportunity. Now, if opportunity comes and you haven't prepared, you're not ready to take advantage of the opportunity. So that's a empty, wasted opportunity. And if it's a once in a lifetime opportunity and you're not prepared to take advantage of it, you just missed it. It doesn't come back. There are some opportunities that will return, come back around. But you got to learn if you missed it and you want it to come again. It's like, okay, if the bus is on a schedule, you riding the bus or flying on a plane, and the plane is on a schedule. If you don't get there in time to board the plane, if you get there after they close that door at the boarding gate, I don't care how urgent your problem is, I don't care who you know in the company, once they close that door, federal regulations for the FAA prohibit them from opening that door because they closed that door because the door to the plane has closed and they're moving away from the tarmac. They're on their way to the runway to take off. You missed your flight. Now, I don't care how important it is or urgent it is for you to get where you're going, you're not going to be able to uh, uh, head that direction until the next available flight. Now, if there's a flight going out, the likelihood uh, of it being on the same airline, and you may have a possibility to fly standby, it's going to be several hours later because they fly on the schedule. If you choose to take another airline, you're going to have to buy a whole new ticket. You're going to have to pay twice to take the same trip. What that means, you have to uh, do what's called preventative measures to get to your flight on time. Number one, they always suggest You get to the airport at least 2 hours prior to your departure. That's the first thing. Uh, Second thing is make sure that you don't have in your carry on luggage items that won't be allowed on the plane. Make sure your checked baggage is not overweight so that you can avoid paying the overweight charges. See, these are things you do to prevent you being held up. And then, so those are preventative measures. And make sure you have your ID with you. If you're traveling out of the country, make sure you have your passport, not just your ID. All of these things are important and are preventative measures so you are prepared for your trip. Um, Most of our societies have what is called preventative medicine. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. In this country and a lot of others, and I can speak from here because this is where I born and raised and have lived all my life in this country. We have vaccines. When you're a child, there's a list of vaccines you have to take. I mean, it used to be the smallpox, the measles. Uh, we had the month we had flu shots. We had chicken pox. What else? What are some of the other shots we had? Tetanus shots. All of those things are preventative. They are for the purpose of or for intention to help you prevent contracting certain diseases. Um, and then they have tests that they will periodically run, like TB tests and stuff like that, to see if you um, have symptoms or proclivity to these kinds of diseases. Well, there's preventative measures that they take. And the idea is that if they detect it early enough, then they can provide uh, treatment to help you avoid a full blown um, outbreak of these diseases in your body. So, um, prevention. Medicine has prevention. Um, you go to the doctor then will also remind you of certain things that you need to be paying attention to prevent you from having, say, an outbreak of, you know, a particular illness or something. Uh, the idea is that they want to help avoid a crisis, a medical crisis, because a disease or something has taken over. For instance, um, diet, uh, vitamins, proper rest. All of those are preventative measures um, to prevent you from getting heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, cancer, those kinds of diseases. Um, you're going to have other preventative measures for avoiding getting the flu or catching a cold. You learn to, in public places, make sure you wash your hands and make sure that if people are coughing profusely, they don't cough around you or on you, and people don't even sneeze on you. Those are things that can put you in danger. And so they're preventative measures. One of the things they did during the pandemic, you know, although, the jury's still out on how much of a prevention it was, but mask and all that. And I think we washed our hands more than we needed to because a lot of times, especially with those alcohol based hand cleaners, you were stripping the natural oils, which are protectants of your skin, when you kept washing them with, them alcohol-based hand cleansers 5 or 6 times every hour. That was damaging to some people, but it's it still was a form of prevention. And you can overdo some things. Yeah, you don't want to be so um, into one thing that you're damaging something else. A lot of us do that, and I just throw one out there. As parents and believers, we can't be so uh, church minded that we neglect our children and their needs. Don't be so focused on the church that your children think that you've sacrificed your relationship with them for the sake of the church. That's a big problem, and it especially happens with church leaders. Prevention. Prevent your children from being bitter about church, and being drug babies, drug to church. Yeah. So the book of Proverbs, and we talked about this in the beginning, they're principles, not promises. They're like um, wisdom and advice on preventative measures to avoid catastrophes or negative dilemmas or outcomes in your life. If you live by these principles, you're more likely to succeed than you are if you don't. And so you want to take those preventative measures because there are some things that can be very dangerous for you. And in that aspect, you don't want to do those things that create dangers in your life. You want to do those things that open up opportunities for success. So we listen and we learn these lessons, and when we are being taught, and this is one of the things that I have always promoted, and sometimes I remind you all who are on, you should always come to a lesson with a pen and a pad. Take notes. Don't take notes just for the sake of taking notes. Take notes so that later you can go back and research what was taught and see for yourself uh, if the information that you were given, if the knowledge that was given out is correct. Don't trust. Don't trust. Listen to me. Don't trust everything you hear. Verify it. Try the spirit. See whether it be of God. Verify the information that you're given. You know, I don't care if it's me. Don't just take it because Dr. Dakis said it. Verify it. Read it for yourself. I'm going to be as meticulous as I can and as truthful can be. And I'm going to give it the best of my knowledge and pray that if it's something I don't understand, that God will give me the understanding and the revelation so that I don't mislead you. But don't just take my word for it. Study it, research it. You may learn even more. So the Proverbs are like preventative medicine, taking precautionary measures. We do it when we travel. We do it, when we are getting ready to be involved in an event. We get all things in place, lined up, so that, uh, especially when we've had experience in something, we're going to make sure that what we need is there and available so that we don't miss something or get caught unprepared and can't handle um, a potential crisis when we see it coming so we can avoid it. You see what I'm saying? When you practice uh, what is taught and the lessons and put to action in your life the wisdom that is being shared, to you and with you. These things will help you prevent problems that can continuously occur in your life. Remember, we're talking about prevention. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You can get caught up in things and miss out simply because you're unprepared. Take the precaution just in case. Don't travel with just enough money to do what you're going to do. There may be an emergency situation come up. There may be a need for you to take care of something else. So make sure you have enough to get where you're going and to take care of you in the event of what I call those contingents. Got to have that contingency money because anything can come up and you want to be prepared. All right. So, um, because not being precautious or taking preventative measures is really foolish. Yeah. Because what happens is when you operate foolishly, it can cause some very painful consequences in your life, painful situations and circumstances. Um, you may not can always control outcomes, but you can deter calamities. And if properly prepared, you can avoid bad outcomes. Yeah. Matter of fact, most of the consequences that we suffer because of sin could have been avoided. Yep. Could have been avoided. And the thing about a lot of the consequences of our sins, they don't leave space uh, for you to get away or escape. Mm-mm. See, there are some things that and errors we make in life that once we make those and the consequences catch us, we are stuck for life. Oh yeah, we're stuck for life. Listen, one of the biggest problems we have right now in the world is the sexual immorality, especially in this country. And one of the problems of the painful consequences of sexual immorality are children out of wedlock. And now we are at 77% of children in the black community are born out of wedlock. That's causing a serious consequence because of the effect it's having on our children. And also what it is doing for women who get up in life and getting to that age and they want to settle down, they want a companion, they want a husband, um, and but they have limited themselves because they got pregnant early, got in a relationship that was no good, but had a child before, there was a commitment made. They got out of that, fortunate to find another person that they could be compatible with, but didn't seal the deal ahead of time. Got into a relationship, had a child or two more. Now that relationship is gone. Now they're single, 3, 4 children, and there are some who have, you know, 4 or 5 children by 4 or 5 different fathers, and even men, children by different mothers. And now you're getting into those situations. So now the person you eventually say hope to settle down with has to now make a decision if I want to be involved with someone who has other parents involved in raising their children, and then women wanting a man who can support, take care of them, but don't want him, but and want him to be responsible for providing support for their children that they have by another man, but don't want the man who's going to provide the support and create that home atmosphere and wholesome family dynamic for them. Don't want him to correct the children or discipline them, and you got all those kind of dynamics, and then the blended family problems that come up with not just the discipline, but a whole lot of issues that come up. Well, those are because you didn't make take preventative measures ahead of time to contemplate how is this going to affect my life down the road. Then you get up to a certain age, uh, you want to get married, but say let's say you meet a guy who likes you, and and y'all hit it off pretty good, but he doesn't have children and he wants children, but you're at that age, you're close to um, you know, not being able to have children anymore, or you don't want to have anymore because you already have enough. Like this one lady said, "Well, I got enough for both of us. He don't, he can't have no children because I got enough for both of us. But he need a house big enough for me and my kids." And you see, those kinds of things, you didn't think about that ahead of time, and so you didn't take preventative measures. It was intended that we not have children until we were married, and it was intended, and a lot of us, have been guilty of this, that we remained with our partners and our husbands and wives until we die and raise our children. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of problems that come up out of that, and we cause a lot of problems and issues for our children, especially when they are products of broken homes. So foolish behavior will bring about a myriad of painful consequences. Yes, it will. And so we have to be more wise. And like I say, a lot of the consequences of sin doesn't leave room for escape. Once the child, is born, that's it. Well, back in the day, once she was pregnant, that's it. Because they abortion started after I got up into childbearing age, but you couldn't get an abortion, you know, before that, or in my generation, it just started during that time. The generation before me, they had to have them or go get an illegal one. And guess what? Those problems you have that you make out of the mistakes of sin can plague you the rest of your life. Getting with the wrong kind of man, getting with the wrong kind of woman, and the people you associate with. Your past can be very damaging to your present and hinder your future. That's a real possibility. You know, yeah, you can do things to get over it, but it's going to take more work. It's like the person who missed the flight. If they got to keep going, they're going to have to pay for another flight, or you're going to have to wait around for another opportunity and hope it comes in time for you to get where you need to be. So some problems will leave no room for escape. And so those things that then can plague you, and then there are some mistakes you can make that once you make them, uh, those unwise decisions create consequences that can't be reversed. People who are promiscuous and got an STD that you can't get rid of, like herpes, AIDS, stuff like that. They don't think about this. They're having fun. At what expense? Okay. At what consequence? You know, yes, I'm not, and I'm not talking like I haven't been in any of that. I know what's going on. Okay. And having multiple children by multiple women ain't a good thing. Multiple women having multiple children by multiple men ain't a good thing. You're going to have consequences, repercussions, and issues and problems over the mistakes you make while you out there in your sin, so-called having a good time, sowing your wild oats. There's some consequences and repercussions to bad decisions. Now, even with we talked with last chapter also about what speaking the wrong thing. Your words should be chosen carefully. Think about you know what you're about to say and how it's going to affect somebody else. Think about the consequences. Sometimes we think just because we are grown or at a certain age, we can say whatever we want to say, but that's not the case. No, you're not always free to just speak your mind and say whatever you want to say. No, Paul says all things are lawful, but all things are not expedient. Some things are not profitable. Some things you are better left kept to yourself. But if we would learn, if we would listen, you can prevent certain outcomes in your life. I remember preaching a message, and the message was one word: if. It's one of the favorite messages that my mother heard me preaching. Said she wanted to hear again before she left here. That was one of the messages. She said, "Oh, I want to hear that if again." Well, let me tell you some of the things that I talked about. If presupposes that there could have been another outcome and a better choice could have avoided what I had to go through or deal with. If um, if I had just kept my mouth shut, if I hadn't said that, if could have avoided a disagreement, an argument, a fight, could have avoided, self-incrimination. If I'd have just walked away, could have avoided that fight. I could have avoided that calamity. Um, just heard a situation today. And if that person had done just what they were told to leave, walk away, and go home, they wouldn't have still been there. And even though what happened, it was they were defending themselves and someone else, and it was justifiable had they walked away. See, they wouldn't be in this situation now. Preventative measures. If I just told the truth, the lie got me caught up. If I had just told the truth, lying has a way of entangling you because when it's discovered you lied, every truth you speak after that is disbelieved, and it has the danger of not being believed by those who hear it because the history of the lie. You don't tell the truth. So how can I believe you? You lied about this. You lied about that. So how do I believe you about this? You know, that's happening right now. A case. The young lady didn't tell the truth. And nobody's believing her now. She's changed the story. And how many times did that happen though? That ain't just happened with her. A lot of folks, didn't tell the truth, and now we down to the case, and all of a sudden now they didn't come up with another story, and that ain't the same story they told it in the beginning. So If I'd have just told the truth in the beginning. But see, sometimes we think, well, they ain't gonna believe me, so I'm gonna have to come up with a story that seems plausible or makes sense. Just tell the truth. If if I had worked harder, sometimes we think, we have opportunities, and then we get them, but we don't work at them. We're too nonchalant. We don't put the effort in we need to put in, and we find ourselves coming up short because we didn't uh, make the effort to do the best that it could be done. I learned that from my grandmother. I was telling her about it. Well, I'm doing the best I can, she said, Junior. Sometimes the best you can is not good enough. Don't strive to do the best you can, because then you limit yourself to what you think you can accomplish. She said, but strive to do the best that can be done. I mean, sometimes you're gonna have to, go beyond what you think you can do, and believe and trust that. Guess what? There's more in you. There's that thing called potential. If I only worked harder, if I'd have got more education, how many people dropped out and then missed an opportunity because they didn't have that education they were going for? And had they just stayed in school, they would have qualified for at least an opportunity at something they really wanted. But because they didn't stay in school and they didn't get that degree, they didn't qualify, so they don't have the educational level needed for the opportunity. Doesn't mean you can't do the job, but some people won't give you the opportunity if you don't at least show that you have a certain level and have achieved a certain level of knowledge and education. If I only tried harder to make my marriage work, a lot of them fail because we don't put in the effort for the relationship. We have different reasons why we try, but we're not really trying for the relationship to work. We're trying to get something we want, or to get someone to conform to what we want them to conform to, or to deal with a situation the way we want it dealt with. Are you trying to make it work, or are you trying to get what you want out of it? There's a difference. I mentioned this earlier. If I'd have just had certain conversations with my children, a lot of conversations I should have had, and I'm having them. I'm getting opportunity with grandchildren to have them, but I should have had them with my children. If we focus more on them and not so much, you know, being at every church service, or being in this committee or in that committee, or going to this conference or that conference. What about time with them, vacation time with them? Yeah, we had some time, but there were other times we could have had that we were doing other things. So heavenly minded with no earthly good. So that's one, if I'd have just you know left earlier, if I'd have been on time, if I'd have just listened, you know, if I'd have just there's so many ifs, and if we had of, we would have prevented a lot of the outcomes. Those remorseful statements, or regretful statements. Um, Listen, ain't no end to them. We can go down the list; they'll never stop. We will not run out of ifs. They're endless. The ifs are endless. I ain't gonna run out of ifs. So, uh, but in Proverbs, Solomon has been, I think, since chapter seven, 7 or 8, he's been giving us these proverbs, and we've been talking about the duties of the wise and the righteous. And this is actually part 4 of the outline. Uh, and we've dealt with the antithetical parallelism. He's giving you both sides. If and the wise do this, but the foolish, you know, he's giving you the pros and the cons. You have an opportunity, and it's not too late. There's a whole lot of ifs behind us, but we can eliminate them in front of us. We still have time. So when we go through this chapter, it's going to be broken down in 6 sections. The first one will be behave wisely and not foolishly. Make the right choices, make the right decisions. Think before you act, think before you speak. Consider the outcome and the consequences. Don't just settle on, well, I'm going to just do this because this is what I feel like doing. Okay. Are you willing then to accept the outcome of what you feel like doing, even if it is not what you want as your end? See, how do you want this to culminate? How do you want this to end? What do you want as your outcome? What is your objective? Mm-hmm. That'll be verses 1 through 3. Part 2 will be guard against hypocrisy. Say what you mean what you say. Always telling everybody else how to do and you won't do. Don't be hypocritical. And you believe it, stand on it. Don't just say it, do it. Don't just be hearers of the word, but be doers. Don't be a hearer only, be a doer. Don't be an instructor, be a practitioner. That'll be verses 4 through 7. Then we're going to get to part 3, cultivate righteous behavior. You have to practice to do it the right way. Make it a part of your everyday life. Practice makes perfect. Practice to do it the right way. Make it a part of your habit. See, that which you have done and practiced will become a habit. And you'll even be doing it without even thinking. You'll choose the right choice automatically. That'll be verses 8 through 12. Part 4, guard your home. One of the things about protecting your relationships and marriage is guarding your home. Don't let everybody in there. Married people, stop talking to single people about your issues at home. Stop listening to folks who tell you, I wouldn't take this. I wouldn't go for this. Okay, you don't know. Because a lot of the folks that tell you that, if they had somebody, they take that and then some. Guard your home. Protect it. That's your place of solitude and peace. Make it your peaceful abode. Guard it. That'll be verses 13 and 14. Then part 5, don't be lazy, be disciplined. Yeah, you can't blame folks for what you're lacking when you didn't get out to get it when it was there and available. Work is work. And if I have work to do, I got to go out and do the work, do it well, and then I'll get paid. I'll get the money. But I have to be disciplined. I can't be lazy. I got to get the work. I got to do the work, then collect my money, and then get ready to move on to the next one, so I can get some more money. But if I'm lazy, got to work and don't go do it, somebody else will get it. Don't be lazy. And when I say do the work, that's for everything. Do the work on your marriage. Do the work on raising your children. Do the work, on getting your education. Do the work on your job so you can get paid. Be disciplined. It has to be done. Do it and get it over with. Move on to the next thing. That'll be verses 15 through 25. Part 6 will close out the chapter, and part 6 says, be aware of these warnings. Learn to read the signs. Pay attention to the red flags. See, if he was cheating on you before you got married, why did you accept the marital invitation when he was already a cheater? And then got upset after you got together and he cheated on you. Here is a real statement. If he cheats with you, he'll cheat on you. A lot of folk get with people because they were married to somebody else. You interrupted that marital union. You ended up with him. And now you mad because he cheating on you. He cheated with you. He'll cheat on you. She cheated with you. She'll cheat on you. You see how that works? Be aware of the warnings. Watch the red flags. If he has a temper before, he gonna have a temper after. If he don't know how to talk to his mother and treat his mother, he ain't gonna know how to talk to you and treat you right. You got to know. Beware of the warnings. If a situation looks bad, if that looks like a bad deal, a bad business deal, don't go into it because there's a potential you could make some money. Look at the warning signs. Weigh them in the balance. Be aware of these warnings. That'll be verses 26 to 29. Well, that's our lesson for today. That's the introduction to Proverbs chapter 19. We will get into this on next Monday. Tomorrow, we're going to have a conversation about the attack on Jesus. Why has Jesus become the enemy of our society? I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. When I ask the question, I want to know, why is Jesus all of a sudden the enemy? And everything our society is doing is against Christ. And we are being divided and separated, and we're not seeing the hand of the enemy and how he's cleverly maneuvering, in our midst and separating us as believers. Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about that tomorrow on the Zoom. The Zoom, the meeting ID, 611-334-5718. The Zoom meeting ID for tomorrow evening. It's always the same. It is 611-334-5718. I want you all to join us tomorrow on the Zoom call. I want to get some input. I want to see. Listen, invite some people to come. Invite them to join us tomorrow on the Zoom. We're going to have a very interesting conversation. That ID number again is 611-334-5718. There's no passcode. Just put in the meeting ID, and when you show up, I'll admit you into the room, and we will have a wonderful discussion on tomorrow about why has Jesus become the enemy to society. Yes, and he has. I'm going to present that tomorrow. So thank you all for joining this evening. I hope you all enjoyed the lesson on tonight. I look forward to seeing you all on tomorrow. That's right. Brother Samuel says, for all sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest are these, it might have been. That's John Greenleaf Whittier. And then another, he says, that was Maya Angelou. When people show you who they are, believe them. Dr. Maya Angelou. That show is the truth. Y'all better believe that too. Jesus said, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So you want to be free, deal with the truth. All right, thank you all for joining tonight. And as always, God loves you and I love you. There's not a thing you can do about it. You go and be blessed in the name of the Lord Jesus. Lord willing, we'll see you all on tomorrow. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed evening. God bless you.
A moment of truth opened up my eyes. A moment of truth. A moment of truth, like the sunrise. A moment of truth. It's a new day. The world has made me new. My life is better. I finally found my way. A moment of truth made me realize. A moment of truth.